match of the day, our final match of the day as well. This will be the last play-ins match of Proving Grounds. One more single elim best of 3 ahead of us here between TSM Academy and Maryville. A big match, Cubby, because coming into this, TSM 10th seed in Academy up against 7th seed from Amateur Maryville. And we've had a lot of conversation behind the scenes. You know, what's probably the scariest potential 7th seed team? Pretty much unanimously, we said Maryville. It's just exactly how things shaped out.
We saved the best plan for last. And for fans at home, why that may be, we'll start to give some context explanation. One, on the side of Maryville, yes, they are the 7th seed. That is through 2 amateur circuits. All their points came from the second OQ. There was a Maryville team that participated in the first. It was a mix of this roster plus the Saints roster that you would have seen yesterday. But the important thing is that they kept the points. So they had the points from the first OQ. This roster did not. So every single point they earned is from the second. Also, another reason that they're feared is that they beat 100 Thieves Next. They are our #1 amateur team. And to give you a feel for how dominant 100 Thieves Next have been an amateur, they were 26-1 before they came across Maryville, where Maryville reverse sweep them, got the 2-1 over them. They did drop in the semi, but given the experience this roster has, Niles, a name a lot of LCS fans are familiar with, APA, someone that has gotten upsets in the first round of PG in both splits that he has played. This is the team that I would not have wanted to face in play-ins, and TSM are going to have their hands full, especially in the early game against Maryville.
And now their opponents here across the rift. Maryville going up against TSM Academy. Jolly, usually I've been giving you the intro for the amateur teams. This time, talk to me what you know about TSM Academy, specifically Kaidua coming in here kind of at the end of the split, substituting in. TSM have had a lot of roster shakeups. What do we think their odds are? Are we feeling nervous for them from your perspective?
You know, okay, based on how cohesive Maryville is, sure. Kaidua, though, has, done such a good job of integrating himself into this team and really is certainly a standout player as we take a look at some of the clips here from him. And so, yes, there have been a lot of shakeups. I think that maybe there's a tiny bit of nerves, but at the end of the day, when we're talking about TSM Academy, they have a lot of things backing them. The org itself, which is just a really huge deal when you have to kind of compare these academy and particularly collegiate amateur teams to them. So I feel like this series for the 2 today are going to be very, very close. That's definitely a rough one. And this is a guy that only got 2 splits. This is his first time here for Scouting Grounds, but there's a reason that he's on such a big team. And while that cohesion might be a little bit lackluster, it does not discount the prowess of these individual players at all.
Yeah, and I also want to say about Kaidua, I know that week 8 for TSM Academy, they are our 10th place Academy team, but they got their first 2-0 since week 2, week 1, where they 2-0'd C9 sub-squad, so not even a full Academy roster. And I know specifically from talking with Instinct coming into this match, that was a huge boost for them. They were 4-2 in week 8 against some decent opponents, and Kaidua, in 2 of those 4 wins, did go legendary. I know that he was the big individual standout, but I also really want to credit Hyper and Yurson, 2 members that have struggled a little bit for TSM, especially in the earlier season. I think that they're working together much better, and that is what is bringing TSM some of the success that they are starting to see in the back half of the split. I know that Kaidua was the one putting up the numbers, but Hyper and Yurson are the ones setting him up.
Their second round robin much more clean, but their opponents, again, one of the strongest teams that we're expecting from the amateur side. And when we look at the lane matchup, Kaidua versus APA of all mid laners, this is somebody who has been around the scene for quite a while here, now on the Maryville roster. He's got such a deep champ pool. Like, if you know this player, you probably know him for the guy that plays ASOL competitively, for the guy that will play Tank Cassiopeia and kind of like started off playing Tank Rise. Unreasonably obsessed with Buff Kirby as well. I'm starting to feel that on Twitter right now because I made a bet that Maryville wouldn't win a game, and now I'm just getting bombarded with those. But APA, definitely no slouch in his own right here, Jolly.
Oh, absolutely not. He's a mainstay, right? APA always playing ahead is somebody that we have seen so often here and kind of jumping around between teams, but really has really found a mainstay here on this Maryville squad. And this is, some of the consistency that I was talking about, right? APA is really a big focal point of this team to navigate around. I love this play coming out of him. Rise in particular, he has just done an exceptional job of being able to set up the rest of the team, right? So it's kind of the opposite of what we're we're looking at from the opposing side. It is mid actually setting up for the rest of the team, which is kind of unnatural in this scene. Usually it's the jungle, it's the top laners that kind of create that opening for them, but that is not necessary for APA.
If there's anything I know about APA, he's got the trigger finger. He's willing to go in and make the call saying, hey, this is the fight. We're taking this play right now. But we'll have to see how they face up against TSM Academy, who still have the infrastructure and the org behind them, because we're ready for pick and ban for game number 1 of this single elimination best of 3. Jolly, Gubby, take it away.
Thank you very much, Kangas. This is the one I've been waiting for, right? I mean, obviously we had 2 series today. We've been waiting for both of the series. We knew that it was going to be an uphill climb earlier for wildcard aces, but this one, I think TSM Academy, if they haven't done their research, they might take a slap to the face pretty early on.
And for Maryville, it's all about the early game. I think that as a team, they have a very clear identity. It is take push in lanes, invade with that push with on orange, and try and get these early leads. And Jolly, you teased, did TSMA do their research? I think they have. The Nico ban, the Cinder ban, I would not be surprised to see a Rise ban directed at APA. These are the 3 champions that he has been playing that ensure Maryville can get that priority. And we'll see if TSM try and deny that Rise too. The Jace, also a big part. I know from speaking with Niles beforehand, he specifically referenced, if you give me Jace and you pick a tank into it, I will take your 2 top lane turrets by the 10-minute mark, both the outer and the inner. And to be fair, Maryville have done that in some of their games. They are blitzing early games in Amateur, and we'll see if they can continue that identity and do it against the Academy squad here.
And no big surprise on the other side, of course. We've got that Jinx ban away. I mean, it's really just kind of across the board, right? Viper, Hyper, and Instincts right there. But TSM is going to very quickly lock in that Rise. Big reason they didn't ban that one out. Might as well finalize the last one over to Niles. Here, a lot of hovers coming out of Maryville University. A lot of different options because we haven't seen the standard bans. The Zeri has not been taken away, right? And that's going to be the hover right there. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the lock-in. And thank you, Maryville, for actually selecting that one for the team to start things off. It feels really good to the Galio to reinforce that one.
Okay, so I teased that a lot of Maryville's game plans is about getting push in their lanes, invading with their jungle. Galio is actually a pick that we're starting to see emerge specifically in the LPL and the LCK to counter Rise. Because you can match the early push and can match the roams as well, you bring this early power. This is a pick that APA has been incredibly successful on throughout his career. Now, throughout all of this, the early game focus, Lee Sin was dropped. It's been a big pick for Maryville and on Orange, and that is Hyper's best champion. Not this split, because it's always banned away from him. So the fact that he has his hands on that Lee Sin, I really like this mid-jungle setup for TSM. I feel like they can try and rival whatever Maryville wants to answer it with. And we'll see if Maryville decides to answer it with something like a Jarvan. It combos very well with Galio, matches the identity that Maryville likes. Would not be surprised to see that for on Orange.
Don't tease me here. We know the Rex side too has actually been one that's been really good into Lee Sin, right? We kind of see that as a proxy ban if there is a decision to go with Lee Sin. We haven't really seen Odd Orange pull that one out. We know how aggressive he likes to be, and Lee Sin is definitely his style here. So the final one for Maryville in this first round is going to be the Leona lock. And we've been seeing a lot of the Enchantresses, obviously, to try to get that shield on to go along with the Zeri to, increase her own. That's not going to be the case, a little bit safer. And so quite a bit of initiation opportunities for Maryville with the 3 locks that they've already got going on. Alistar will be the next ban away. I wouldn't be surprised if they stick with yet another support to just try to narrow things down for TSM Academy as much as possible.
And so with that support, I think we're going to see some counter support bans being thrown out by Maryville. I'm looking at the Alistar and the Nautilus, 2 of Yursan's best most played champions, not only this, but throughout his career. And then on the side of TSM, they have their jungler. Maryville does not. I teased the Jarvan, taking away the Volibear. Still kind of matches the identity that Maryville are going for. I'm curious to see what happens with Camille, because Camille is a pick that you can use if you're TSM to try and lock down the Zeri. And also for Maryville, something you can use to set up this Galio. So I think that is also going to be a very contested pick heading into this next phase of draft. I'm curious if TSM maybe bans something like a Renekton here to set up a Camille. That could be another option. And instead, they're just going to take away that Camille. So recognizing that power that you have with the Galio, with the Camille, don't want to deal with that. Don't want to blind it themselves. We'll just take it off the board.
Still a lot of options here. There is the Xin Hover. That'd be a solid lock-in for Maryville. Odd Orange, of course, does have a pretty deep champion pool, but certainly likes to flex on certain individuals. And Xin Zhao has been one that he's been picking up a lot recently with being so heavy in the meta. And also just given the fact that if you see Odd Orange on the other side, you're either usually taking away the Lee Sin or you're banning it away from him to ensure that those plays do not come through, because he is just a monster on that champion. And now we're going to see what the pairing might be. There is still, you know, that slight flex reveal here with the Kaisa. I got to expect that it's going to be going down to Instinct, though, because of his prowess on that champion in particular.
Yeah, to be fair, Jolly, doing your homework, we have seen Viper play Rise top. They're going to do some crazy flex, but will not be the case. Just going to be the blind Gnar. Could easily see Niles Aurelia. We talked about early priority, diving in, playing for lanes, winning solos, invading with the prio. Niles has counterpick. Niles is not afraid to throw down, and I do want to tease this matchup too, because Niles, someone, of course, announced his retirement, returned to Maryville. I know from talking with Niles, you know, he's thrilled to be back. He loves competing with this roster. He really believes this roster can win. But thinking back to 21 summer, Golden Guardians, they took third in Proving Grounds. And you know who Niles and Golden Guardians beat in that fourth place match? They took down Viper and Immortals. And Viper himself did win the very first Proving Grounds with no org. So a lot of history in our short span of the event between these two top laners. And excited to see if Viper can overcome Niles Aurelia, one of his best champions, one of his most played champions even in Champs Queue, coming out on the Rift in the counter matchup in Game 1.
I do like the blind Gnar, right? That's one that I am comfortable with taking, or at least selecting here, especially when you ban away things like the Camille right there, taking the Volley Bear away from this team. It's, you know, these heavy initiators that are going to be really, really helpful for Maryville, and definitely the style that they like to play. So Aurelia falls in line with that, not just for the composition, not just for the player, but definitely for the matchup here. TSM starting on the blue side, though. We'll have to see exactly how they aggress onto this one. They are the favored pick in the overall, but of all the teams to be going up against, clearly they've needed to do their homework, right? We saw the bans that were specifically against APA, and that is definitely a player that we are going to watch to be popping off. It's not just these mainstays in the top. It's not just the Viper and the Niles. It's not just the Hyper on the other side. We got to keep eyes on mid and bottom lane as well.
And I think Maryville, you know, as this premier collegiate roster, this might be the best chance they have to do well in a Riot sanctioned event, as well as they've done in CLOL. You know, they've never won like a qualifier moving into scouting grounds. They've never like been able to really test their might against the academy teams, as they didn't qualify for Proving Grounds either of the attempts they had last year. This time, if they win this best of 3, they have a chance they've never had before as the premier collegiate program to get into this tournament, test their might against the academy teams. They have to do it by knocking out this one to start off. And we'll see if Maryville are up to the task as we hop into Game 1.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I just got all excited. I get my reposition down as we head into game. There we go. All right, we are in it. I can sit in my funky way that I like to do when I cast here. Of course, again, TSM Academy going up against Maryville University. Once more single elimination, but it is a best of 3. So this is just game number 1 between these two teams. And you know, as you were talking about that one of the first lock-ins here with the Galio being picked up after Azog's Zeri, I really like this one. Not just for the matchup, of course, that one is successful for them, but really the ability to use that heroic entrance to be able to lock down some members from the opposing side of the field. We'll have to see.
Hold on, Jolly. This could be bad for Instinct. He is not spotted.
Flash is away.
Hey, we'll take the freebie if you're Maryville. And, you know, for the side of Maryville, I know that they, of course, are not favored as the amateur team, but I actually like this draft. I think it really fits their identity. Something that Maryville has done so well is utilizing push they have in lanes to try and get leads in the jungle, shift those leads into the lanes that they have. And this is a draft where Maryville, they can make plays, they can do that. That is what got them here throughout amateur in that second OQ. We'll see if they can execute it against TSM here.
Nothing too crazy to start the day out. I mean, aside from getting that flash out of Instinct,
I'd say it's pretty crazy. That was a unique path.
Yeah, that feels good. And it was a really good response there. Instinct sitting in that tri-bush, and I mean, the second Shady poked his head in, there wasn't even opportunity for that Q to be applied, if that is where he ended up putting his first point in. I'm not sure if it was actually locked in by the time they tried to go for that initiation. That's generally the way to go, though. You don't really want to start with the Zenith if you can get a 1.5 second lockdown. So I like to see it. It at least goes to show that the reaction time coming out of everybody here on TSM is still at the top of its game here. And we can see that Instinct popping off quite a bit of damage on Azog. That's the expectation with the early parts of this. So Shady has to be very careful being a little bit more vulnerable than Leona becomes after an eye number 2. Oh, look
yeah,
at
they're gonna
that.
fight instantly as Shady will eat the Kai'Sa passive, but I think importantly, junglers, much like in the last series, Jowie, we have a mirrored path. Odd Orange pathing up towards that top side. Not surprised, trying to support that Aurelia with Hyper matching going bot. We'll see if they can make plays to get this Aurelia ahead. As I teased, this Niles Viper matchup for me, very, very exciting, given the history and proving grounds. Also, just want to throw in, the coach of Immortals last split, it was Jensen, who is now the head coach of Maryville. So even more history between Viper and Maryville going into this match. We'll see if Viper can continue to step up as he's been doing this year. Big time for TSM. Big part of their wins. Their 4-2 Week 8 that really got me excited about TSM and that turnaround they've been making throughout this season.
We'll have to see how quickly it comes, too, because this is definitely a composition for Maryville University where they're really looking towards the later stages of the game. Obviously, they have to be shutting down TSM Academy's early game. On top of that, we can see Niles doing a little bit of proxy vision right here to try to get maybe some eyes on where Hyper might be.
Vision.
Proxy vision.
That's a new one. I kind of like it.
I use proxy for everything, honestly. I mean, hey, you know what? It is. It's just to ensure, hey, I'll use this blast cone. Just throw it out there. We don't have to throw a ward down. I'm going to be on my recall. And that was the case as we got the return from Niles. He's going to make the long walk back up top. Hyper already showing his face down here on the bottom side. But there is a ward from Maryville in the tri-bush. So vision is on him. And that means that there might be an opportunity for Odd Orange to navigate downwards after Hyper rotates back up.
Now, I know we've teased a lot about Maryville's early game plan. They actually haven't made a play on this first clear, and that's a rarity for Maryville. Usually we see them going for everything early. Now, I think this does partly benefit TSM, but I think the big important piece for Maryville this game, and what can break the camel's back for TSM, is Niles on this Aurelia. If the Aurelia gets ahead, there's no way that TSM can win the side lane against this Aurelia. It's very important that Maryville are able to get Niles ahead in this top side, because if he is able to take that lead, he should be able to win into both the Gnar and the Rise as the game goes on. And I mean, all my eyes, especially going towards that top side, because Viper, he actually opted for the Ignite and Conquer in this matchup. A very different setup than what we see from most Gnars. So if he gets punished, he can't TP back.
Can't TP back, but he can do a little bit of extra punishing on his own, of course, having that Ignite. We've seen that come into play pretty heavily. And, you know, it's not as crazy as we might think. I actually, you know what, in game number 2 that we saw earlier here, earlier in the day, of the series for FlyQuest Academy going up against Wildcard Academy. Game number 2, we didn't see a single teleport in play, and it ended up working out quite well for both of these teams. It's really trying to get that extra execution down. And Viper, especially knowing that he's going to be on the front line of a lot of these fights, he has a little bit of an advantage in terms of maneuverability, right? The double jump with his E, and also just being able to apply a slow in case he does get into a dangerous position. Feels all right. Maybe it is a precedent, though, something that sets up of, hey, I know that this is a scary fight into Niles. See if Hyper does make a move on this. Shady is also in the wings, though, so this is going to end up being an even 3v3. Yurson flashing forward. He's going to go with the hero's entrance, and oh my goodness, a beautiful taunt right there by APA is going to ensure that Kaido is the first to go down.
That's a much needed play from Maryville, and a better setup from them against the Academy squad, because now they got the kill on Kaido. He has no TP. Maryville, Predator is being popped by this Galio, sprinting towards the top side. Viper's at least going to have to drop this lane. We'll see if he drops his life.
Flash forward by Viper after the jump, and APA is going to find a second kill already. Hyper is there, Yurson is there, but is it too late? We go back in with the heroic entrance here.
Kaido's back.
Shady gets ignited. Hyper goes in, but Niles comes in with the flash. And speaking of heroes entrances, there's another one to come out from APA. More of a, you know, we were going to say a proxy there.
I would use the word safety, but hey, props to Maryville. I mean, they're the ones that are outplaying TSM. Let's watch this skirmish. This is 2 different targets being selected, and props to Odd Orange. He's able to dodge out on the Rakan Grand Entrance, and everyone at Maryville, they pick the same target. They say, Kaido, you're dead. We are burning everything that we have on you, and this is what Maryville does best. When they get prio in one lane, they shift it to another. APA, and once again, props to Odd Orange. Watch this flash from Odd Orange. W flash that netted the damage onto the Gnar, helped turn things in favor for Maryville. They find the first 2 kills on the map, and they have a 1K gold lead.
Feels pretty good considering who is on the other side of the field. Of course, it's only a couple of minutes in, so nothing can be anticipated here, but I do think the response times that we are seeing out of Maryville are perfectly timed, right?
Hold on.
We even
Viper's
see
here.
Let's take a look, though.
Viper's
If
here.
they can actually make a play off of this one. In goes the entirety of the team. The Realm Warp comes through. Shady gets locked down thanks to the ultimate out of Viper, and it's a great play to come through, at least halfway equalizing the kills that Maryville has made for themselves.
And Viper's going to drop a lot for this play, but honestly, a pretty wild play from Viper. It does catch Maryville off guard. They at least are able to pick up the support. And TSM, we're thinking about turning this into a dragon, but also actually Hyper, your son, I think they're too low. I don't think they have the confidence to go for this. So while they get one kill, they don't find anything else. Niall's able to deny waves from the Gnar. We tease that it's important that Maryville get this Aurelia ahead. And now look at APA. Use that mid prio to come up and hover this Aurelia. Maryville understanding their win conditions very well in this game, Jolly. And I think that play from TSM, I'd take what Maryville got out of it over them. I think they actually went out.
I agree. You got the additional experience, right? We're looking at like 25 creep over Viper that Niles currently has. That allows for a little bit of roam in response. We can see that happening here, especially given the fact that Hyper and Kaiduo are sitting here on the top side, the blue side of their jungle. Now we can see the move back down. Shady just kind of hanging out here in the mid lane, supplying APA with as much spawning pressure as possible, especially when you recognize, hey, we've got the opportunity to put some more pressure on this lane. We know that Kaiduo is not in the wings. Let's do that if we can. And that means that this bottom lane is just kind of up in the air, to be honest. Whenever you can get some pressure in, you might as well take it, but it's very even keeled between Instinct and Azog right now.
But why Shady was hovering, Jolly, is to make this Rift play. And this is exactly what Maryville wants. They've already taken 2 points away from Viper on the top side. They pick up this Rift Herald, they can drop it top, they can accelerate the game, just what Maryville likes to do, the reason that they're here in the first place. And what has TSM responded with? They haven't put Zeri too far behind. They're going to have to try and make this play work. We'll see if they can have it connect.
Shady is right here, though. Finds
TP.
the Zenith Blade on the backside. Yurson tries to go in, still does not have the quickness, and that means that Azog is just going to be able to pick up that kill. We can see the Predator boots coming through here. Kaiduo going to be able to get out, and this is what I was talking about. The reaction times from Maryville are immediate, and there's not enough time for TSM to really make the plays that they're looking for. That first tower going to drop in favor of Maryville on top of it.
I mean, my brain goes to, like, what are TSM looking for? It feels like they're just looking for solo kills, solo plays, but they haven't been able to take a neutral, even with making some of those plays, and every play that Maryville's making, they're getting more out of it. And a lot of this is coming from APA. He's dropping waves. He's helping his team. He's turning plays around to the side lane exactly the way that Maryville likes to play. And I think that TSM haven't had the right answer to it. Now, TSM, fortunately for them, they will take their first neutral of the game off the map. It will be the Mountain Dragon. This will be helpful, but I prefer the state that Maryville's in, Jolly. It's a 2K gold lead, and the member that we thought was the most important for Maryville with executing their comp, it is this Aurelia, and Niles is the one with that gold lead.
Niles has the gold lead. The 2 kills as well for APA really sets up a solid late game for this team, especially when you're talking about a Rise who's a massive scaler, who's great at side lane pressure. You know, Maryville kind of recognizing that and setting themselves up for success into the late game. So we like to see them do that against a team where, really honestly, at the end of the day, if we're talking about predictions and things like that, the majority of people are going to say, hey, TSM have got this one. And of course, it is a best of 3, so there's still plenty of opportunity. We're only 11 minutes into this one, but Maryville doing everything right. And that is something that can't be said about TSM so far in this game number 1.
And I just love Maryville, once again, grouped up. They got mid-prio. Niles eats that wave. He can now go catch everything else top, and it just makes TSM so scared to even approach this. Maryville didn't even attempt the play, and they're still going to win out on a plate given their map movements. Really good stuff from this collegiate team coming out early. I know that from talking with Niles earlier, keep in mind, he's someone that took 3rd in Proving Grounds on Golden Guardians Academy last split. I asked him, is your team ready to play and do well in this event again? And all the answer was yes. Like, yes, he believes in this squad. There's a reason he came back to play for this collegiate team. And, man, it's really good to see Maryville putting together a very, very good early game in this one, Jolly.
Oh yeah, they're feeling good about this. Let's just take a look at the vision, to be honest. All the vision that has been set down right now by TSM Academy has been on their bottom side of the jungle. And there we can see all of the additional vision that is in place, basically comparable here, that Maryville has set themselves up for these aggressive plays. And that's exactly what Odd Orange wants to make happen with it. It's that, and also catching Hyper out whenever he is accessible. He hasn't gone down quite yet, but my goodness, Maryville feeling good, and that's going to be a nice little lockdown onto your son, who has to battle dance back over to Instinct. APA and Odd Orange. This is what I was talking about. They're setting themselves up for incredibly aggressive plays. Your son is going to jump back. Hero's entrance following it up. Now the rest of TSM trying to follow up this play. They recognize that Odd Orange either has to walk through this tower, or he is going to take the flash over the top of it to ensure he doesn't get taken down.
And that's a good response from TSM. I just deterring Maryville on the play. I like Maryville also showing some restraint. Now, Hyper, you can't take that path, buddy. Able to get out, but, oh, could have been another flash burned. Is Maryville going to stick around, see if I can take these chicken nuggets away.
Should be able to. Odd Orange has very quick clear onto this one. And the taunt actually lands there. Oh my goodness. Hyper has to flash away from this one. He will escape with his life. Yurson goes in, does not have the quickness up and available. It does look like Shady's response is going to be that solar flare, and Kaiduo able to move in on that after utilizing his flash to at least pick up one in consolidation here.
And hey, props to TSM. Maryville, they overstayed. They didn't respect the fact that Viper was walking down to try and help with that play. Viper gets there in time. He's the one who's able to help turn it around. Good stuff from TSM. That's the first play that we've seen where they were actually able to punish the initial play from Maryville. We need to see more of that moving forward. And as we dive into this mid-game, Jolly, with some plates going down, what I really want to see is when APA leaves mid, when he goes to make plays on sides. Because I think that if TSM are able to avoid those windows, it will open up a window where they can try and push, take mid for themselves, and just give up some prio on a side. I think that's going to be the big part of the mid game, and I think that all is just built around keeping our eyes on Niles, on Aurelia. The big piece, the big vocal point, the emotional leader of this squad, Captain America, he's going to have to step up big in this one. He has the lead to be able to do so. It's a champ that he's known for. We'll see if Niles can make it happen.
Shady trying to find the pickup onto Yurson right there.
He's still looking. APA pop red.
He is. Oh, you're absolutely right. They're looking for that play. We can see the sweepers coming out, and that's kind of been the name of the game right here for Maryville, is saying, okay, we're the ones who have the lead in vision. Look at the wards once again that have been placed down. Every single time TSM tries to go in with a sweeper, it's immediately followed up by a sweeper from Maryville on their side, and that's kind of what's leading to this forced reactive play out of TSM. And another reason the Maryville are able to set themselves up for such good plays. Now, we'll see if they can do that once again with this one. I don't believe the vision was there. We can see that single ward on the backside. Solar Flare started up. Kaido is not even able to move. That was a huge lockdown. Azog going to be able to pick that one up. Yurson goes in onto the backside. The grand entrance. He's not able to follow it up with, oh no, it was the quickness on top of it, but nobody from the rest of the team actually able to make a move on that and really damage the rest of Maryville.
And, you know, Maryville, Jolly, you were talking about setups earlier. Notice how Dragon's up, but Maryville, they're prioritizing this Rift Herald. They want to take turrets. They want to shrink the map for the side of TSM so they can keep on pulling off these plays on sides, using that Galio heroic entrance to keep on pushing the pace of this game forward. And they will be able to take this successfully. And because TSM didn't opt for the trade, because they tried to contest this play, they don't pick up the Dragon. This opens up a window where Maryville can now reset on the map, now take control of the bot side and try and take that neutral as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's interestingly enough, it's this fully reactive play from TSM, right? I know I said that just a moment ago, but it's at the point where instead of TSM saying, okay, where else can we kind of navigate along the map? How can we sort of make this a comparable play in favor of us? Instead, they're just saying, let's go. Let's respond to this. Let's move in on the initiation that came through out of Maryville. Of course, in this instance, it is going to be Maryville who moves down probably just a little bit too late to contest this Dragon. Hyper being the solo player on this Yurson, navigating his way in to ensure that there is no big jump on Hyper as he gets pretty low. But still, if you're Maryville, you're feeling very good, even though that gold differential has been negated just a tiny bit.
Hey, props to TSM, because I know that part of the slower responses, that does come from the draft. That was a good one. And now they read this play.
Oh, that's a big shutdown, though. On to Azog to start things off. The ultimate coming out of Niles. Odd Orange is also here in the wings. Shady should be able to get the pickup onto this one. Hyper navigating around them. Kaido getting picked up. A triple kill for Niles. That's the reaction that you want to have if you're responding to a play.
And it was a good setup from TSM, but the Galio's there, and everyone got knocked down by the 3-man ultimate from Niles. This duo, the people that have experience in Proving Grounds, have had the most success. Niles, APA, syncing up exactly what Maryville wanted. This is now a huge lead for them.
Let's take another look at that play though one more time. I mean, this is a tragedy for Azog, but honestly, it was a fantastic setup here for Maryville.
Yeah, so they spot out Shady, and Azog's the bonus present, right? It's like, oh, we just found Zeri, but Niles is here, and keep in mind, Viper, he doesn't have TP. So this is a 4v4, but they already blew a lot of cooldowns on the marksman, and Aureli is the person that has all the goals. So when the heroic entrance connects, everyone's locked down. Niles gets to go rampant, and Niles, he makes it happen. We were asking for him to step up, asking for him to make use of this gold lead. That's Exhibit A right there, and now they're looking to push again.
Once more, it's Viper on the run. He just lost Meganar. Shady is on the backside. They're going to be able to pinch him, no problem. Zenith Blade not even needed. Viper trying to throw out what he can, but he knows this is his demise that he is facing. The reaction still not there from TSM, and they can't gather anything else on the map.
And I just love that look from Shady. I think that Shady, a member of Maryville, he is the longest tenure. Yes, Shady, it's the same Shady that played for Phoenix 1 back in those days with Arrow. He is a fantastic support. I know this is his swan song with Maryville as he is going to finish up his degree in May, is looking for graduate opportunities to continue playing League, collegiately, but man, he has been a huge part of this team's success in amateur. He is so good at support, and looking at him find that play, find that roam. Maryville, they're taking inhibitors pre-20, Jolly. This is the amateur collegiate squad against the academy team. They are dunking TSM in this first game.
It's insane, making such good use, too, of both of these Rift Heralds right now. She got 2 charges off. Sure, the vision is in place, so at least Maryville is being watched and navigated around here, but I mean, these reactive plays, they're now, sure, maybe it's not just an immediate response for TSM to say, okay, let's try to go in on this, even though we have already fallen behind in the play. But at the same time, Maryville says, if we are going to make a play like this, if we are going to jump on TSM in 1 or 2 of these instances where we catch solo players out, it's because we also know that there's nothing else that can be gathered by the rest of TSM Academy on anywhere in the map. We're seeing it time and time again. TSM saying, all right, we lost a member or 2. What can we do? Really not much. Just keep doing what we're doing, keep pressuring the lanes that we're trying to, but they still haven't even been able to pick up their first tower of the game.
And I mean, TSM, this is what Maryville throws at you. This is what makes Maryville a scary team. We said they got all these points in the second OQ. Yes, they are the 7th seed in amateur, but they didn't play in the first OQ. They didn't have a chance to even make the top 6. This is a tough matchup for TSM, and I mean, yeah, it's hyper, on this Lee Sin. They denied the rise from APA, but we just haven't seen TSM be able to step up, be able to make the plays necessary for them to take priority, take advantage, and it's just been MU feasting across the map. Now, as we transition to the later stages, the one saving grace for TSM, and where I will give them a lot of credit, is that Ursa and Hyper did work together to set up the 2 Dragon takes. So with this Infernal Dragon spawning in a minute 10, if TSM are able to get a good setup and take this one for themselves, that is a real scary comeback mechanic for Maryville, because that Infernal Dragon, or Soul, I should say, could help a lot for TSM try and bridge the gap and overcome what Maryville is throwing at them at this point. Because when it comes to scaling, I actually do like where TSM's at. Besides that early in the side lane, I think their team fight will be more consistent, will be a little bit stronger than what Maryville is throwing at them, as long as they can knock down Azog.
And that's the other side of that saving grace, too. They still at least have this mid lane tower, so to go in for the Dragon is going to be a bit more of a struggle, but it is Viper caught out completely solo here. The Solar Flare popping on top of him. Odd Orange, the proxy out of the backside. This Ursa does end up going in. He's got the quickness. It's a big pickup here by Hyper. The heroic entrance coming back through from APA. The flash forward by Shady to try to lock down Hyper. He dashes over the wall, though. The flash to follow it up, but it's still not enough. 4 members are able to pinch him out. And once again, Maryville find themselves on the up and up.
Now, Maryville, they do not care about Dragon in this series. I mean, the Dragon is about to spawn. They're taking the top inner turret, Jolly. This will open up Instinct to maybe try and take this objective as Maryville resets after that play. And you can see Maryville actually not opting for the reset. Instead, they are opting to come and contest. They realize how important this objective is. This comeback mechanic could be to TSM. And I think given they have supers in the bot lane, it shouldn't go over to the side of TSM, but we are going to take a second look, take a replay. Viper, I will say props to Viper. Yes, he does get caught out initially, but he's the one that sets up the turnaround onto Azog Zeri. Is that flash into the slam into the wall? That is at least enables TSM to trade out members. Maryville still come out on top of the play on the back half because they take the objectives, and we get to see a good look at Odd Orange, Niles syncing up the Gym Bros. And now speaking of the Gym Bro, Niles, he's dashing in, he's flashing out.
Yeah. Get dragon kicked in
mistake.
by Hyper. You're not going to be able to recover from that one. Niles utilized his flash, too, at the very start of that. That was his first death, so it was a big takedown. It looks like the Realm Warp going to come through on top of it, but it's just kind of to go on to Orange, who was able to pick up the dragon during that fight.
Okay, so a bit of a trade. Niles going down, that is a pretty big mistake. It does give a nice chunk of shutdown gold over to the side of TSM, but I think importantly for Maryville, they do deny that dragon. They deny that soul point. And now we're at the point of the game, Jolly, where Niles has TP, Viper does not. So I want to see Maryville try and set up this Baron. I think that if they are able to catch Viper out in a side lane at the wrong time, they can bait TSM into a fight. And the good part about what Maryville's comp does is that they are really good at punishing summoner spells being down. When I look at TSM, the only flash available to them is Instinct. So I think Maryville pushing the pace of the game around this objective is the right call. I would try and find Hyper, isolate him. He is the smite. I know Lee Sin is slippery, but I think Maryville has the tools to do it. That's what I'd be talking about right now in the comms, and I'm curious to see if Maryville executes, because it seems like we're at least on the same page about prioritizing this Baron.
Yes, it's definitely a big deal here. When you've got pressure in all of these lanes like Maryville does, you might as well be taking advantage of these objectives. We can see Hyper, your son, Kaido, looking maybe for an initiation. Shady sitting on the sidelines here, ensuring that nobody goes in without the rest of the team's knowledge. The Baron's halfway down, but they want to transition this into a fight. Shady is going to be the one to start this out on the backside. The quickness does come through. It's a lot of damage. The Kaido will not be hit by this heroic entrance, but it's A-OK on Orange with the pickup. Very little damage taken here by Maryville, and they can just restart this Baron, no problem, having taken 2 members down.
And I love the aggression. They saw Viper bot. Now Viper's dead.
Viper, why? Went in, maybe trying to do something sneaky there. You got to know where APA is. That taunt is huge, and that means 3 members of TSM are down. Hyper, you can't do much on the other side. APA, of course, going in with this. APA having not fallen a single time yet. Shady with a beautiful buffer right there to follow up the Zenith Blade. APA maybe looking for the response. Hyper does come through. He is going to dragon kick APA into the wall, but this is literally just APA and Shady messing around saying, Hyper, do what you want. We're picking up the Baron, man.
And Maryville, I mean, when you have Viper showing the bot side, there's no TP. I just love the aggression, love their ability to pull the trigger, and now Hyper. All right, we're gonna cut to a replay. Take a second look. Instinct, he's mid. Viper with just spotted bot. He's still on the reset. He has mini. Maryville, they just pull the trigger. They say, this is practically a 3v5. We know that we can take advantage of this. We're gonna go. We are not scared. This is the experience of this collegiate squad shining through, but also the individual play as well. We said this was gonna be the scariest amateur team, and Maryville, they are stepping up to the task, answering the challenge, as they have taken TSM Academy to the brink of this game 1. And with this Baron, we'll see if Maryville can maybe take 2 inhibitors and make this a very difficult game for TSM to come back from, if it wasn't already difficult enough.
Definitely feels like it's difficult right now at this point. Of course, it's only about a 5,000 gold lead, right? So at 25 minutes, that's not an insane number, but Maryville are pretty much writing the script for this game, right? They've got the Baron buff now for the next little bit. They already have inhibitor towers down in both, or just the bottom one, but they've got exposure on the base across the board. And so at this point, it is still TSM throughout the majority of this game having to play in response to the plays that are being put forward by Maryville, and they're feeling really good about it, making very, very few mistakes and capitalizing on those that are revealed here by TSM. And all the kills that they want are in the favor of the players that they're looking for. Instinct is going to get jumped on here. The ultimate to come out from Niles. He goes into stasis, and that is just fine. He's able to send 4 members running behind second tower.
Now, that is a big cooldown down for the Aurelia, and Niles is grouped at the moment. No APA can join with the heroic entrance, but this is tough for Maryville to crack. You can see they do have trouble sieging. They fight best when it's, in the jungle. They can bait TSM out of the base. So this is TSM, at least punching back a little bit, as Viper is about to proc Mega. We'll see if TSM looks.
So he's looking for that initiation. He does get the Mega, but he's probably only going to be able to use it on 2. He doesn't end up using it at all. Azog is going to be able to pick up that kill. Sure, Instinct pops off a few of those W's, but it's not even enough for them to follow up a single play, and that's the problem, is the damage is spread so well across all of these members of Maryville. They can just stay in this position. They can continue to put pressure on TSM.
And you can see this dragon spawning in 24 seconds. Now, I do want to take a step back. TSM, I did say I like their comp, especially grouped up as time goes on. This is the poke Kaisa. Instinct could be scary, as APA looking for Hyper, not able to find him. That should zone him out and should enable Maryville to reset, make sure they lock down this next dragon.
They can just kind of take their own step back, right? Say, okay, put pressure back on the lanes. We already forced forward the bottom side here. We've already got super minions coming through in that zone. And they can split themselves apart is the craziest thing about this. Whereas TSM does not have that opportunity. They don't have the liberty of saying, okay, we can kind of catch out whoever we want to. We can respond wherever we want. They are still playing the game that Maryville is setting up for themselves. But it's going to be 3 members on to Niles, who manages to stay alive. He's going to reinitiate because on the backside, APA is coming in with the damage. A nice jump onto Kaido. That means he has to flash away as Azog is also a part of this fight. Great job by Niles there to also avoid the Void Seeker. And then in the middle, Viper trying to take down 2 members here, gets locked up. Shady follows it up with the Zenith Blade. He throws out the ultimate of Gnar and has to flash back over the wall.
Okay, so I will say with all this skirmishing, yes, Niles able to escape, able to almost turn that around was very impressive, but it does at least slow down Maryville. It does buy TSM a little bit of time. They're able to reset on the map. They can fix these waves. Maryville are a little bit split on the deploy as Niles was sent back to base, but now Maryville, they're grouped up. They're looking for that power play once again, and keep in mind, we talked about flashes being down, being very important for Maryville executing. Both solo lanes of TSM just burned flash to try and make that play. So my eyes for Maryville go towards APA, go towards Shady. Can you find that Rise? Can you find that Gnar? And can you take them down as a team?
That Rise has been taken down so many times. That Gnar has been taken down so many times. Poor Viper sitting at 0-5 and 3 right now. APA gets jumped in on, but he's dealing so much damage. He's going to be able to make a flashy flash over the wall. He does end up getting locked down here by Kaido, so the kill goes over to Instinct. That's what happens when it is 4v1.
A little bit split. Didn't quite clear the wards out well enough hopping in. That was a lane that TSM just pushed up, and so good job on TSM dropping wards as they pushed up that lane. Did open up that play for them. And props to TSM. I know this early game didn't go their way, but at least our Academy squad here is showing some fight, showing some of the responses in the later stages, and slowing down Maryville, which is a bit concerning. Now, Maryville, fortunately, they have been able to deny Soul Point. They do have 2 Infernal Dragons themselves, but we'll see if Maryville can set up a dominant Baron the way that they did last time, because I think they're still on the clock a little bit. That Baron's going to be a lot more difficult to set up now, looking into that Poke Kaisa. That is something very dangerous that Maryville will have to worry about setting up that objective.
Nice little sneaky recall right there coming out of APA. Yeah, the teleport is down for APA. Niles still has his. Kaido does not, but has the Realm Warp up and available. So Maryville just sent back, has to kind of figure out, okay, where exactly do we need to put pressure on, because the top side was pushed back in, so they sent Zeri up there and Azog. And now the mid lane having the responding pressure coming out of TSM means that their game plan is not quite as easy as it has been throughout the majority of this game. But again, APA just fell for the very first time. It still is so dang resilient and has really been a problem here for TSM to have to deal with, whether he's initiating or coming in the middle of a fight with that heroic entrance.
You know, I know APA specifically, he was the only player at 2021 Scouting Grounds that attended 2022 Scouting Grounds. And I know for APA, you know, it carries a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. The fact that no one bet on him, but the fact this collegiate squad bet on him, I know how much it would mean to upset an academy team for the 3rd Proving Grounds in a row in his first game. And Maryville and APA, they're going to have to be solid as they try and do it another time. APA will be able to dodge out on the Realm Warp. And
it's just your son. Your son's like, oops, okay, we're not going in on that one.
It was a decent idea.
Let me battle dance. I like the idea. You got to be careful of APA, especially when you know exactly where the rest of the team is. Azog, Odd Orange, and Shady sitting here right next to this Baron. Of course, Niles, you got to anticipate is going to be in the wings somewhere, has his ultimate up and available. Shady, once again, just kind of positioning in a proxy place right here to ensure that nobody from TSM is able to make the move unsuspected. And your son does not get over, or your son gets over with the blast cone. Of course, Hyper able to ward hop that one. Nice Void Seekers coming out here from Instinct, who has to stay back, has to stay incredibly safe. Shady going out on the initiation, missing the Zenith Blade after flashing forward and landing the Q. It's a lot of damage onto APA. The quickness comes through. It is the heroic entrance, the ultimate from Aurelion coming on the backside. Instinct has to flash away from this one. Niles doing so much damage. Viper getting caught out solo here between these remaining members. Will get taken down. That's 2 members of TSM who have been removed, but APA on the other side is also gone from this fight. The flash over the wall by Azog has to know the Instinct is right there. A nice golden stasis coming out of this player. Shady has to sit on the front line. On Orange Orange has found the one. A nice lockdown from Niles to follow it up, and that Zonias is not going to help you out, Kaidua, when you are facing up against these two strong members. The teleport now coming through. The game looking to be ended right here, right now by Maryville University.
Yurson will be up. This is a 2v3. Props to Azog. That stopwatch was huge in baiting TSM into the re-engage. It gifted Maryville more kills. The ability to try and end the game. We'll see if they can do it.
There it is. The Grand Entrance coming out of Yurson. He's going to get jumped on in response by Niles. He's okay with taking a tower shot or two. Now the teleport coming back through from APA, who has respawned. One tower down. Azog goes down there. Viper will be respawning right now, but Hyper gets taken down in the meantime. A nice little pop-up there by Yurson, but it's not going to be enough. It's the Nexus that is the target now for Maryville. They don't even care about padding their stats, because all they need to do is win this game to set themselves up for match point in the series.
And what a statement game from Maryville. They played exactly how we thought they would. Like, what has given Maryville so much success, it's been really playing with priority. Having prio in lanes, helping invade jungle, get that ahead, and then using, when you get a play in a lane, shifting that to sides. That's exactly what Maryville were able to do in that first game. And TSM, they just didn't have an answer for it. They weren't able to punch back until much later into the game. And if you're going to take scaling into Maryville, we've seen them punish so many amateur teams throughout the split. It's good to see them do the same to an academy squad. And for the first time in our play-ins, Jolly, an amateur team has won. This collegiate squad holds strong. They take a game, and now TSM, they have to win the next two if they want to be a part of Proving Grounds.
They're going to have to reverse sweep this one. Let's take another look at this one. If you want to break this down for me, Cubby.
So I know APA goes down, but this ult is huge. This is the perfect position for a Galio ult, and he gets on instinct, forces him out of the fight immediately, and this enables Niles to run rampant on the Aurelia. We teased that he would be important. He was the one that got the early focus and the early lead with that counter pick, and he was the one that really took over this game in the sides, Jolly.
Big props over to Shady, too, who was, I mean, roaming from the very start of this one. Honestly, yeah, all of Maryville did incredibly well. And, you know, from the very beginning, I was talking about just the struggle that TSM was experiencing in saying we have to react. We have to play reactively. And that meant Maryville was like, excellent, we're on the proactive side. We get to kind of dictate the positioning of how these fights start out. And we saw it with really, really early pressure on the towers. We saw several early tower takedowns. They were able to basically lock down all of the objectives. And at that point, TSM had to kind of be in this recoverability situation, and no team really ever wants to be on that, whether it's the beginning of the game, the middle of the game, towards the end of the game. Of course, they had some comeback, but the problem was that there was already so much being fed into these players like Zeri, being fed into APA on the Galio, who was just perfectly timing every single one of these ultimates, and on top of it, Odd Orange not having gone down in the early parts of the game for a very, very long time. It was just prime positioning, and even when it came to reactive plays coming out of Maryville, they were immediate. They were instant.
I actually want to give a lot of props to Odd Orange, too. I thought he had a great Xin Zhao game. I know that giving over that Lee Sin to Hyper is always something that teams have been questioning in Academy at all levels. Keep in mind, that's the one game that TSM Academy were able to pick up in the lock-in stage, was when Hyper got his hands on that Lee Sin. And, I mean, Maryville, like, what a statement. I mean, this is a collegiate squad. And I know that, you know, there were some announcements, some chatter around collegiate, you know, not being the path to pro, Riot focusing on Proving Grounds. The fact that as a collegiate squad, Maryville are able to compete on the path to pro, not only qualify for the event, but also give it to one of our academy teams too. I know I don't want to freak out too much about one game because we still have a best of 3 series left, but it would mean so much for collegiate and Maryville as a whole to take this series up against TSM. And that first game, that was a statement. We're going to have to see how TSM Academy respond, because they're going to need to dig deep and find 2 good games they want to take down this collegiate squad.
Yep, it is a best of 3, but they have the chance to be eliminated here by not just an amateur team, but you're absolutely right, Cubby, by a collegiate amateur team. Of course, we are going to take another very quick break before heading into game number 2. We'll check in with Kangas, see how he felt about that first game. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back with more Proving Grounds. It's Maryville University versus TSM Academy.